And CBN News senior editor John Waage is in Jerusalem to help to explain the twists and turns of Israel's election aftermath. So, John, is this bid for unity government a smart one by Netanyahu?
Yes, Ephraim, I think maybe it's the only move by Netanyahu that he can really make right now. I mean, when you add up the totals, he doesn't have enough to get a coalition government on the right. He would have to borrow people on the left and some of the smaller leftist parties, and they're saying nothing doing. So I think it was smart of Netanyahu to get out front on this, and rather than Benny Gantz coming forward with a suggestion like this, Netanyahu beat him to the punch. And on top of that, he's proposing a broad unity government, which means all factors or segments of Jewish society would be involved in it, including the religious parties and people on the right, as well as people on the center left. So it was a pretty timely move, I would say.
Now, so far, the Prime Minister has stayed loyal to the parties on the right. Will that last?
Yes, that's a definitive question. It'll last as long as they are in the preliminary stages of these negotiations, which could drag on for weeks. The parties on the right, he went to them immediately after on election night, and he told us all on election night in the wee hours of Wednesday morning that he had planned to have a government of the right, a Zionist government, a government that stood for the country. And he met almost immediately after election night with his the rightist parties and everything. And so they're staying loyal to him right now, and he's remaining loyal to them. We'll see when he gets with the opposition, if they start the talks with him, we'll see if they say, no, you got to jettison them. That's the first thing you've got to do. That very well may be what they propose. So, but he is staying loyal to the Zionist and the religious parties for the time being.
Now, if the left has a two-seat lead over Netanyahu's party, how can he argue that he should be the leader of the next government?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. There's a lot of media kind of hubbub about, you know, Netanyahu's losing, and obviously he didn't want the results where he had less seats than another party, but he is in a better shape to form a coalition. And Chris mentioned it in his story that the Arab joint list got 12 seats. Those seats would be folded into a left government headed by Benny Gantz, but you can't have the Arabs. They won't sit with the Israeli government, and the Israeli government can't really afford to have the Arab parties involved in a government. So Benny Gantz actually has fewer numbers to form a coalition than Netanyahu does. And so it's probable still that the president, Reuven Rivlin, will appoint Netanyahu first to form the government, see if he can take a shot at it and make it happen. Netanyahu's attitude right now is, if you want to give Benny Gantz the first chance, then go ahead and do it. Let's all watch him sweat and see if he can make something happen out of this. So it's a rough one.
Indeed it is. So what comes next?
Days and then weeks of negotiations, horse trading, really back and forth on who would be allowed in a government and who wouldn't be. And so it's going to be behind the scenes, but we'll get leaks on what's happening.
All right, CBN News senior editor John Waage from Israel. Thank you so much for sorting it all out for us.